2017 immediate right, first time on this specific program. Senator Moses Kajwang, Senator Homa Bay County, also a member of ODM. David Makali, resident analyst, and of course Ngujiri Wambugu. Thank you, gentlemen, for making time for us. I'll look at your tweets and feedback on number 2 for number 2, but let's take a look at a soundbite here that has caused a lot of problems.
Na mwelekeo wa kisiasa ambao tumesema kwa hii county, tuna agenda yetu, na wale ambao watashirikiana na sisi kwa agenda yetu ndio tutapatia kura 2017. Na tumeona kwa vitendo, Mheshimiwa Rais na naibu wako, nyinyi mmechangia kwa agenda ya Wakwale, na sisi pia basi tutawauliza watu wetu wawaunge mkono kwa kura inayokuja.
So should this really mean anything? On Twitter, after asking whether Jubilee is trying to stage code in the perceived code strongholds of the coast region, Philip Mbindio says not really. A lot of things will happen between now and 2017. And a text here on 22422. All right, still on Twitter, we have Dorothy, who says the way he announced it, talking about Mvurya, it had a lot in meaning. He knows the ground is divided. And Nafis Mohammed says on Twitter, yes, Jubilee knows Kenyans are gullible lot and perfected the art of enticing them with goodies. What do you think? Him talking to us. The hashtag is GamePlan2017. On 22422, you can reach us through our text platform. I'll start with you. What do you make of Salim Mvurya's move to say he will campaign for Jubilee? Does it mean anything to you?
Thank you, Hussein. Mvurya is not the first politician from the coast region to support Jubilee, and he's not going to be the last.
Yes.
And if you look at the numbers in coast, the counties that we used to call coast, ODM is still dominant. Look at Mombasa. You've got a county assembly that is almost 100% ODM. In fact, you remember the conversation was, how do you have a minority leader in such an assembly? If you look at the other counties, TNA could be having just about 3 or 4 elective positions for members of parliament. So I don't think this is an earth-shattering announcement for Mvurya to say that he's going to consult his people and ask his people to support Jubilee. In fact, remember, Hussein, 70% of elected leaders do not make it again in the next elections. We could be looking at an example of part of that 70%.
Right.
So it does not bother ODM, it does not bother CORD that Mvurya has said that he feels like supporting.
And there's some figures you're going to look at, if we can look at them now. You're talking about the last election. The 6 counties in the coast region: Mombasa, Kwale, Kilifi, Tana River, Lamu, and Taita Taveta. This is what happened, the presidential results of 2013. Raila Odinga, of course, got 612,057 votes. Uhuru Kenyatta got 158,649 votes. A very big margin. But I don't know if you agree with what Moses is saying. You don't think things have changed since then? Because you're talking about what happened in the last election. Yes. Okay.
Thank you, Hussein, and welcome, Senator. One of the very interesting things one of the things I find interesting when people talk about Mombasa and the coast politics is this assumption that the coast likes being in the opposition. There's a very interesting history that we forget. In 2013, when the coastal people voted overwhelmingly for CORD, they expected CORD to form government. CORD did not form government. In fact, in 2017, they are a lot less likely to form government than they were in 2013. So, coast people are going to move. Nobody goes to the ballot to vote to be in opposition. So Mvurya is saying that there's no way CORD is going to be form government in 2017. So what people are actually doing now is making a strategic decision that we are not going to be in opposition for another 5 years. That's what's happening at the coast. The CORD will want to justify to themselves and to just make themselves feel good by saying that no, we're not losing anything. But as we've just seen, the votes in 2013 was over 600,000 votes to Raila, and then 58,000 votes to Uhuru. Today, we will most probably get 300,000 votes to Uhuru, and
you cannot prove that.
But you see, the fact that we have Mvurya and a lot of other people who are now talking Jubilee, you see, in 2013...
That is what was going to be my next question. That really translates to votes.
It does.
First of all, I think my interpretation of what Mvurya said is not that he's moved to Jubilee.
Yes.
In fact, it was an expression that they might want to deal with Jubilee.
Yes.
It wasn't categorical. So if you ask him tonight, perhaps he'll say, I didn't say that. I haven't talked to him.
But if we can look at that soundbite again, he has said clearly he will campaign for Uhuru and Ruto in 2017. That he has said.
He said that they are handling the agenda. We will deal with people who are dealing with our agenda.
But he has expressly said that, Makali. He has expressly said he will vote. Not he will vote, but he will campaign for them.
Okay. Yeah. First of all, I want to agree with Senator Kajwang, but I don't think these are final statements. If he does, wait to see. Also, you need to look at it in the context of who is he running against. You see, politicians are out here for now looking for self-preservation. If you want to understand what Mvure is saying, you need to look at what is eating him. Yes. To determine whether he really means that Jubilee has infiltrated this region or not. Although we must admit that Jubilee is making serious onslaughts at the coast, and I would say that they have made some headway, much deeper than was last election. But I don't think that the ground has shifted in a big way, in a significant way. And also add to it the fact that Mvure as governor, really. He commands a bit of that quality, county. But you cannot say that, he's carrying the weight of the people there. And he's also being diplomatic and hospitable to his guests.
Okay. You don't think it is a sign that Jubilee is gaining any traction in the coast region?
It's gaining traction. There's no doubt about that. Jubilee has made serious gains into the coast. It would be dishonest to deny that. But I don't think there has been a serious shift politically in terms of the support base in its favor. Maybe if they got, and we saw the figures, I think probably they've added another 10% from the last figures, my estimate.
To take it to almost 300 like you were saying.
You see, there's something who's saying that we need to emphasize, and something that we need to focus on. It's not even, first and foremost, I think Jubilee is actually going to get the coast vote. However, considering that they got 158,000 votes in 2013 and still won the presidency, every single increment at the coast is good for them. So if they got from 158 to 258, that's an extra 100,000 votes or an extra 200,000 votes. So coast could still vote. The overall vote could still slant to Raila. But then now he could have 400,000 votes, while Uhuru has 300,000.
I was coming to that, Makali, that was going to be my next question, actually. Jubilee, where they stand, if things remain the same, if things remain as they were in 2013, in terms of the regions that voted for Jubilee and the regions that voted for Coast, Jubilee is not necessarily looking, they would love that, but they're not necessarily looking for 100% Coast.
100%.
Yes, they just want
percentage, and that would,
of course, they want to increase their tally from the Coast and top up the national totals. But what I'm insisting on is that we cannot determine the level of infiltration or extent of possession that Jubilee has at the coast by the proclamations of the current elected leaders. Because equally, the people who are opposing them are significant. Now, this cannot, in my view, be a guide to say that Jubilee has made much headway.
We're saying the numbers that you flashed is not a true representation of the potential of coast. If you recall the last elections, there were issues of MRC, which we believe were propped up by the NSIS just to disenfranchise the voters in coast. You saw places like Kilifi, where there was violence, even on the voting day, where some polling stations were closed earlier. So we believe that there is a number, there is some latent number that did not get an opportunity to vote that would still be sympathetic to call. But you must also ask yourself, for a government that is in power, that remains with 85% of national resources. Why is it so difficult? And you find Jubilee apologists like Ngunjiri just talking of a 10% increment.
No. May I talk about
Let him finish. With full resources, with full control over 85% of national revenues, struggling. The people of Coast do not support Raila Odinga because he's their relative. Neither do they support him because they are tribesmen. They support him because he represents their interests. And if you look at Raila and Uhuru Kenyatta, and this is an issue that has been there, whether it is fact or fiction, the land question. In as much as title deeds have been issued out, there are people in Coast who still believe that the Kenyatta family and top leaders within Jubilee are guilty of grabbing land, whether it has been proven or not, but that is a perception that the people have that is not going to be sorted out by the president going to open a container unit or by the president giving out some token title deeds.
We'll talk about the issue of resources and the government and its resources. You've mentioned about land. Also, we're going to come to land issues. But now that you've mentioned it, God has been very categorical on the opposition that this is not the right way to go about it. Look at what the Deputy President has been saying, for example. The only solution to land problems is title deeds, and they're giving them. Does that weaken court position?
It does not really weaken court position. Issuance of title deeds is part of the solution. But the broader picture must be to look at the Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission, TJRC report. We've got historical injustices that cannot be sorted out overnight by the president coming to issue out title deeds. And remember, these title deeds also, there was a financial implication on the poor squatters, people whose land was taken away from them and being told they have to pay for it. Yes, giving out title deeds is a good sign, it's a good token, but we must look at it holistically. It is not about donating a few hundred acres of land somewhere in Taita Taveta. People feel aggrieved because this land belonged to their ancestors, and this is an issue that has not been sorted out. And that's why you're saying, I don't think that the love that we see proclaimed on TV, I don't think that love goes to the heart.
It doesn't. You don't think it will translate to the votes?
It does not translate to the vote.
Hussein, when somebody who wants you to fail tells you that what you're doing is not working, then you know what you're doing is working. Court doesn't want Jubilee to succeed at the cost. So if they start telling them that giving title deeds is not the way to go, then it essentially means giving title deeds is actually having an impact on the coast people. Because remember, court doesn't love Jubilee. God is not going to try and get Jubilee to do the right thing for the coast, because they want to retain the coast vote as it is. So every time you hear them complaining that what Jubilee is doing is not right, then you know that what Jubilee is doing is right.
They're saying you're not going. They're saying Jubilee, and that is one thing that's been said. Jubilee is not really handling the core problem of land in the coast region.
No, but
they're issuing title deeds, but the issues like TJRC,
the question of
implementation,
what I'm telling you is, it is not in court's interest for Jubilee to do the right thing at the coast. Because once they do the right thing at the coast, then they're going to lose. So if you hear them saying, don't do this, then it means that what you're doing should it be in Jubilee's interest, and Jubilee, now we're talking about the government, to ensure they've sorted out the issue of land? You see, there's a point you're missing. There's a point you're missing in what I'm saying. The people of coast, Mvurya is a governor of the coast. He's been elected by people of the coast. He's saying, what you guys are doing as Jubilee is working for us. In fact, we're going to support you. The court leadership, which is not from the coast, Raila is from Nyanza, Kajwang is from Nyanza, he's saying, what you guys are doing at the coast is not working. So who are you going to believe? That's one of the things that we need to think about. Number two, I started from 2013. In 2013, nobody from the coast would have associated with Jubilee. So the fact that we are having governors in office, we're having members of parliament in office associating with Jubilee, means that Jubilee is actually making steps into the coast region. Those are the facts that we need to agree on. Whatever else we have been told here is propaganda. But the facts are, this is where we are. That is the quality, okay.
I guess the question is that, is land the only problem or issue of the coast? And I think that's what Kajwang is addressing.
Yes.
It's that title deeds is one of them. But there's a bigger issue beyond that, which is about redistribution, about ownership that is beyond just having land that you don't have titles to, but the redistribution and the fact that huge chunks of land are owned by people who are not even coastals or don't use them,
including people
and then
from
the whole of course,
and the Jubilee
across the spectrum. And then there is the whole issue of marginalization, the just rampant poverty. These are serious issues. And
also when you open the port, you give jobs.
These issues, guys. That's also what we are saying, that land and issuing titles is just one among the many things that need to be done to completely appeal.
But the key solution you're saying is going deeper now and handling that. So now that you say that, when you weigh the two,
tokenism.
When you weigh the two, now you say tokenism and going deeper and that's what he says. And going deeper and now sorting out the land issue, redistribution of land and marginalization. What do you think carries the weight here then? Tokenism or handling the real issues?
I think there has to be you know, some of those issues cannot be solved immediately. They're long-term. They're bigger issues.
Nice.
You know, you can't even do them in 1 year or 2 years or 5 years because they need a long program of rehabilitation, integration, and economic empowerment of the people of the coast. So, you know, we must accept, and the coast of people must accept that this is who presents the bigger policy approach to solving those problems, rather than coming in, chopper, titles, go away. That's what we are saying.
Okay.
But something I need to clarify. There's something I need to clarify here.
Something I'm forgetting. Yep. That LAPSSET is also in Lamu, which is part of what we consider coast. And it's not that we don't have a plan or a roadmap. It is just the goodwill and the spirit to implement some of the things that have already been proposed. This facility that the head of state was launching the other day, you know, there's been a lot of thinking, there's been a lot of work that went beyond this administration, started in the other administration. Things like LAPSSET, the plan has been there. Up to date, money has not been allocated to this, and this has held the promise to radicalize certain parts of the former coastal province. What we lack is just the commitment and the goodwill. And I think the people of Coast, looking at these two political groupings, CORD versus Jubilee, I want to believe that they feel that CORD has got a greater heart and better goodwill to implement, because it's not about inventing.
And now that you say that,
it's not about
now that you say that,
it's not demonstrated either.
That's what I'm coming to. It was not demonstrated. Going to the 2013 election, and we saw CORD was in government in 2013, just before the election.
Yes, was saying it.
The land ministry was actually in the CORD coalition, then ODM. Did we see much being done the way what Jubilee is doing now in terms of issuing title deeds? Yes, you say that is nothing really. But did we see
even that?
Did you demonstrate anything? Did ODM demonstrate anything in terms of issues solving the title deed issue?
Let me give you very specific examples. The legal framework that we currently enjoy, that we currently employ in dealing with land issues, was set up when James Orengo was the Minister for Lands. And I think that's a very critical contribution to the issues of land. LAPSSET, in terms of planning and conceptualization, was done during the Grand Coalition government. I can count so many projects across this country that was the brainchild of members of the Grand Coalition government who are now in CORD. And I think Kenyans are also clever. They can see where these things started from, and they can see who the joyriders are who want to seek glory at the tail end.
Thank you, Senator. There's a point I needed to re-emphasize that Makali was kind enough to introduce to this conversation, that the solution to a lot of the problems at the coast is not going to happen immediately. I think what we need to accept is Jubilee is making steps in the right direction. They're giving title deeds. The guys who are getting title deeds didn't have them before. Call it tokenism, but there are people who now have title to their land that they never had before. And this is going to be, and that's why the next term of Uhuru is going to complete this work. Okay, I know how both of you, Gujiri and Moses, and how you'll answer this question. That is a discussion I want Makali to respond to. Yes. Politics of development, and we're seeing a lot of projects being launched in the coast region. Now that Uhuru is going there, just like he does in any other part of the country, he's the president of this country, and he forms the government. Where do you draw the line? You know, is it immoral? The politics of development, is it immoral, knowing that the opposition do not have such resources? Yeah, exactly. You see, and the problem of trying to peg a campaign such as Jubilee is doing on the basis of what it is doing is not right. Because, I mean, that is why government has to be there. That's why people say you need to isolate government from the party. But because they struggle to get to that government. Yes. Everybody struggle to get to that government. Once you become government, you cannot then not begin saying this is Jubilee's actions, because government had to perform. And some of the things that government is performing are actually in long-term policy, Vision 2030. Some of these projects, if you look at LAPSSET, you look at all these things, government ought to be following. In fact, the risk I always see with our politics is that we are trying to put manifestos much far ahead of national policy, so that what happens, for example, if there is change of government, do we mean that the things that Jubilee is doing then are shunted, and then CORD brings in new things? Then we'll never have a country that rolls on the basis of long-term policy and philosophy. Raila in Kakamega again, he was there within, now this is the second trip within a month or so. What do you think it means?
Hussein, Raila's visit of Kakamega County was not exhaustive. Kakamega is a huge county with about 12 constituencies. So the last time Raila toured the western region, he focused a lot on Busia and other parts of western. So he's going to complete a job that he had started. I'll be joining him tomorrow, and I think that the expectation amongst the residents of Kakamega and western are extremely great.
And in the wake of the issue of the flag bearer in court, why don't you respond to that?
Well, I think he had to, and I think he's doing the right thing, because western is, you know, in some movement, in some restless, going through some restlessness, and it's in his interest to go and, you know, assert his best, take charge, assure his people that you know, they need to be with him because he's still the same old leader they liked, and especially because of what is likely to be Musalia's bid and how it can, what impact it can have. It can have the impact of eroding what is traditionally considered to be Raila's support base.
Support base. Okay, finally, party hoping. Who is the loser? Who is the winner in this? And have we seen the last of it?
I don't think we have seen the last of it, in my opinion. I think that the incumbents have...
so there's a law for our viewers.
Yes.
There's a law that now prohibits
hope. I mean, it's gone to the president. I don't know whether it's usually going to send.
It's coming to Senate.
Yes, it's coming to Senate first.
There's a bill, rather. Sorry.
I'm a bit concerned about it. I think it's brilliant for party discipline. I'm just a bit concerned about it because it stops of how it affects the presidential vote tally, because a lot of the times as a president you want as many people as possible campaigning for the lower seats, because each of them campaigns and brings that vote to you. So when you have a situation when you've limited the people who can campaign for you, then you actually are limiting the number of votes you can get. That is my problem at a presidential level. At presidential level. However, as far as bringing party discipline is concerned, this is a brilliant law. It's a good law on the long term. I just don't know whether it's going to work for the 2017 election and how it's going to affect various people.
I think it's a good law. I don't know whether it's going to be enforced. Enforcement is going to be a problem
because of that presidential aspect.
Although I don't share in his view that, you know, if you have more candidates who are vying on different parties but they're supporting you, then you have a bigger catchment area. I mean, the thing is,
that means you don't necessarily agree with Jubilee having one party.
Let me tell you what happens. For example, I come from Nyeri. The governor of Nyeri is from GNU. He beat a TNA person. Yes. Now, what tends to happen is this: for example, I win the JP nomination, which I expect to. Now, when I get the JP nomination, and then you tell all the people I was competing against not to run, then it means that there are people, they're supporters of theirs, who are their hardline supporters, who won't bother to come out and vote. Now, those people are the president's natural voters. Now, that is a vote that has been lost, and that's my concern at presidential level. I'm sure the incumbents don't mind, because I can become MP with 40,000 votes or 30,000.
As long as you have your supporters.
But that 10,000 vote difference actually affects it.
So then why do we want to kill the parties? Why don't we just have as many as
I'm a bit hesitant. I want to hear how the Jubilee party wants to mop up every single vote.
And this is the party that is being launched on Saturday.
Oh yeah, already. You know, this thing you either support or you don't. There's too much anarchy in our nominations. And I know Ngunjiri is going to talk about my own nomination. But look at Tanzania, Lowassa and Magufuli. You know, Lowassa was in CCM up to the point when he could not get the nomination. Then the next day, he's the one insulting CCM and saying CCM is a house of thieves. I mean, that's the kind of embarrassment and the kind of anarchy that we must stop in this country. And I can assure the nation that when this bill comes to the Senate, we shall pass it. And so you choose your party, or you become an independent, or you retire from politics.
Thank you, gentlemen. Homa Bay Senator Moses Kajwang, David Makali, and Ngunjiri Wambugwa, political analyst. Thank you so much for making time for us on Game Plan 2017 and on Sunday Live. Keep talking to us. The hashtag on Twitter is Game Plan 2017. Let's take a look at what you're saying. Reality 254. It's going to be a tough race, though politicians are proving to be of selfish interests. Okay. Julius Miri, party hopping is very dangerous for democracy. Clark Sumbule, Jubilee Party seems to be gaining from their coastal tour. However, CORD remains strong in the coast. And Isaac Mudusi, Raila's Kakamega tour is very important since he's hunting for votes everywhere in Kenya. And Evan Smith's Jubilee is perfect in seduction. Coast people should ask where Jubilee has been over the last 3 years and why now. Well, keep talking to us. We're taking another short break.